Good afternoon. It's Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Yes, it is on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I'm so excited. I'm going to be speaking with April Elliot Kent of Big Sky Astrology. Yes, I am. There's April. Hi, April. Let's see. There you go. Hopefully that worked. Oh, wait, maybe I have to do it again. Accept. There it goes.
Hi.
Hi, April. It's so wonderful to see you.
Well, thank you for the invitation. And I had a little false start earlier trying to alert my audience to this conversation. And I realized after there was no audio. So I'm new at this. I know you are an old pro, Celeste. So you can help me out if I start floundering a bit. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. You're doing just fine.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So first, let me introduce you to my audience. So April Elliot Kent is an amazing astrologer and writer, and her website is bigskyAstrology.com. April has a podcast as well as she lectures, and I highly recommend her books. Your writing is that's what drew me to you.
Thank you.
Your writing is just incredible. I don't know how you put out your essays every week like you do.
Well, there's a little bit of a secret to it, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of writing. It's a whole book probably that I've written, doing this since 2018, this particular format of column. Thank you for that. I mean, certainly it's not video that has built my reputation such as it is. But yeah, I mean, do people read anymore? I'm hoping they do. You have the books, so that's exciting.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
right here astrological transits. So April's book about the transits was Best of Something by Oprah Magazine as well as others. But it's a really wonderful, well-written book about what to expect as transits come up. I love it.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
even if you're
you.
not, even if you just have an earlier, if you're more of a beginner, this is a great transit book to help you understand
Oh, that's
the
great to
cycle.
hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because when the publisher proposed the topic, I thought, well, because they're kind of a mainstream publisher, and I said, does anybody know what transits are? And I guess the editor did because she was excited about having it. But it's if you're listening to Celeste give you the celestial news, if you're looking at Instagram and you are reading Facebook posts or anything, that's transits. So I think we're all a lot more familiar with them, maybe than we used to be. So,
Yes, I think
oh,
we
good.
are. And is there anything else you want to share about yourself that I didn't mention?
I mean, I don't think so. Really, I've just been plugging away at this I've been a professional astrologer since 1991, I think. And I have had my website since 2000. So I've kind of been at it for a while. And the thing is, you're always still learning. And I also always feel as if there is more I need to try, more I need to do, and all of that. But I do enjoy the job. It's a
Oh,
good job.
it is a wonderful job.
Yeah,
Yes. And so tell
yeah.
everyone your big three.
My big three. What are my big three? What do you mean? Oh, okay. Got it. My sun is in Leo, my moon is in Gemini, my ascendant is in Sagittarius.
So wonderful for the moon and Gemini for all of the writing. And you
Yes.
have a big sky, big sky astrology, the Sag
Yeah.
rising, and you
Yeah.
do this beautiful artwork, which is so
Oh,
Sun and Leo. What
oh.
do you call? Is it collage or what is
It's
it called?
digital collage, and I started doing it. I think when we redid my site in 2018. I
Mhm.
had done a few of these just for fun, and the designer looked at them and said, let's make that the foundation of the whole design. I went, oh, okay. So it turned into a lot more work because I'm doing these every week, really. I've got kind of a stockpile of them now, but I love them because it's the opposite side of the brain. And when you write so much, there comes a time you're out of words. I mean, moon in Gemini or no moon in Gemini. And that really taps into kind of a Neptune place. And actually, the Sabian symbols that we'll be talking about today, it's that similar side of the brain, that intuitive part that can get me out of the words for a while. And
Yes.
yeah, use my Neptune aspects.
Uh,
So yeah, I
and what do you,
love them. Well, I'm glad you like them because I love doing them.
oh, they're gorgeous. That's
Thank
not what drew
you.
me into you. Your site is so beautiful. And Marissa has mentioned that you're a wonderful mentor. And I
Oh,
personally have mentored with you, so I can concur
oh,
that you are an
nice.
amazing, wonderful mentor. Yeah.
Well, I can't think that I've even taken a scintilla of credit for what you and Marissa are doing, but it makes me feel very proud to have been called a mentor by you at some point. Yeah, she's amazing, and I love her book. We should give her a shout out for her Raising Baby by the Stars book.
Oh,
And
okay.
oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And all the great stuff you're doing. You're such a goddess on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank
you're
you.
out there, I know you're associated now with, I think, AFAN and now going probably into OPA and
Hmm.
all of that and going to all the conferences. Girl, you're out
I am out
there.
here. I am out here. Yes, I'm going to be taking over the transit talks for
Oh,
AFAN
wow.
for OPA. So yeah,
Perfect.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited about
You are
that.
a perfect choice for that. I love that union of organizations coming together.
It is
Yeah.
it is absolutely wonderful. So
Mhm.
for people who don't know, OPA is the Organization of Professional Astrologers, and it has absorbed AFAN. The can you what is the acronym
I
for
think it was
AFAN?
the Association for Astrological Networking,
Okay.
if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good old organization. It served the community so well for so many years. But I think the landscape has changed so much. It was primarily a networking organization. And of course, there are so many different ways that we network now. And they also really led the way in helping astrologers that were encountering resistance in their communities to their work as astrologers. And they were very helpful to a number of people. So it was a great organization. I'm glad it will live on as part of OPA because I served on their steering committee for a while and I really loved working for that organization. So I'm glad they're not going away completely. And I love OPA. What a great group that Kay has built up. There are all the people before her, Maurice and everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I recommend, even if you're not a professional astrologer and you really enjoy it, you might want to consider joining OPA because their talks, I think once or twice a month, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're either transit talks or people giving you technical information, and there's a magazine. It's really wonderful to consider,
It's
and it's
great.
not very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And based on your recommendation, I joined AFAN, and it has been just a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful growth I've experienced. I want to thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you caught them at an interesting moment as they were trying to figure out what direction things were going in, but you worked with some great people there. So,
Yeah.
yay. Glad you did
Yes.
that.
Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to let people know they can hit the carrot at the top and follow April
Oh,
if you're not following her already, or follow me if you're new to me. Yeah, without leaving or
yeah.
anything.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, great. So I want to talk today. We're going to talk about the Sabian
Oh,
symbols.
you have that
And
book.
you
Great.
got me started on these
Oh,
symbols.
really?
And I talk about them whenever I do my new moon
Mm-hmm.
workshops. I always talk about the Sabian symbol for the moon. But why don't you explain what the Sabian symbols are?
Yeah. Well, the Sabian symbols are these word pictures for each degree of the zodiac. So each and every of 360 degrees has this little word picture that goes with it. And the way they came about was it was way back in 1925. They're over 100 years old now. And there was a clairvoyant named Elsie Wheeler who got together with the astrologer Mark Edmund Jones. And they got together one day here in San Diego at Balboa Park, where I live, at Balboa Park. And for the full day, they sat, and he had 360 little index cards. And he would just kind of shuffle them randomly. They were, 1 Aries through 30 of Pisces. And he would ask her to channel a picture. and she came up with a little succinct picture for each and every symbol. When I first ran across them, I didn't think much of them, I must admit, because I was trying to read them really literally. And they're very esoteric, and some of them are just downright weird. And some of them, I think, too, are very much of their time. They probably made a lot more sense in 1925 than they do today. But nevertheless, it was really over time. And at one point, Linda Hill, whose book you were showing, which is, to me, the ultimate book on the Sabian symbols, she was coming to San Diego to do a talk, and we hosted her at her house. So I got to sit with her for like a week, and she would talk to me about the symbols, and she kind of talked about mine, and I saw her, she was doing for readings for people as they came through. From talking to her and experiencing the way she thought about them and talked about them, the penny dropped, and suddenly I went, oh, it's just not a literal thing. And I relaxed about it. And it became like one of those 3D posters they used to have, where it was, you couldn't quite see the picture in it. You had to focus really, really carefully. But if you focused too much, you couldn't see the picture in it. And so you had to sort of relax and go, oh, that's how I use them now. They're very much a tool of divination, I think, for a lot of people. And you don't have to know anything about astrology at all to use them. But if you know, for example, your sun, I was sneaking a peek at your chart, Celeste, before we came on. I hope you don't mind. But, the sun in your chart is at the Sabian symbol. Is at 1244 Taurus. So it's on 13 Taurus, a man handling baggage. Which is just a funny little symbol. But I think, don't you have the sun close to Saturn?
I have a Sun-Saturn conjunction.
Yes, isn't that perfect? The man handling baggage. And we don't have to go a lot further than that. We just go, oh, this is a person that's going to handle their stuff, and probably other people's stuff, because of the Saturn influence.
Yep.
But the way Linda used them too, that I had kind of forgotten about till recently. But she will also look at the Sabian symbol for the previous degree. She says that represents the karmic condition of this planet. And for you, that would be 12 Taurus, window shoppers. And in reading about that, just kind of visualizing and thinking about it, I thought, well, these are just people that are eager to experience things. They want things. What are you doing when you're window shopping? You're not necessarily going to buy, but you're super eager to look at things and to imagine and to desire. So that is the karmic condition, we would say, of your sun coming in. And then the quest degree is the one after. So for you, it would be 14 Taurus, which is a really cute one. It's shellfish groping and children playing. So they're on the beach. And one of my favorite Sabian symbol experts, James Burgess, describes this one as being about a balance between reaching out, being self-sufficient, which is the shellfish kind of groping on the beach, versus taking time to play. So really it's about life-work balance, which as entrepreneurs, I suck at that. I don't know how well you're doing, but it's always a real challenge to do that. So
I want to, that is so amazing, April. I want to pause for a second because it is so correct that man carrying baggage. I have had a heavy load with the Saturn on my shoulders and taking responsibility for things I didn't need to take care of my whole life. And when I had Uranus coming over my sun and Saturn squaring my sun, Saturn, conjunction, and Uranus, I quit my long-term corporate career. And I really feel like it's the karmic, the quest degree. Tell me what it was again.
It is shellfish groping and children playing. So it's kind of all on the beach. And it's that balance, right? Of like feeling once you go out on your own, it's really common, I think, in business to feel so desperate for everything you can get because you're really building something and it takes time. But then the children playing. And it says, if you don't take the time out to enjoy this thing that you left everything to go into, then what's the point? So I love that. And Linda's the only one really that I have seen work with the symbols in that way. Maybe others do, I don't know. But she certainly introduced me to that idea. And I think it really fleshes it out. The other thing that she shared one time, and I haven't looked into this a lot, but she said if you look at um, symbols of the same degree, and especially in the same modality. So
Oh,
say the fixed signs, so we look at 13 degrees Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, all those other symbols would have some connection to your man handling baggage. Um,
ah,
and I did look at yours, and I don't know offhand what they are, but I thought that was such an interesting approach.
I will do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. You know what? I'm going to look at the one for 13 Leo right now because that
Mm-hmm.
is where Venus is going to retrograde from
Oh,
28 Leo back to 12 Leo. And with the Sabian
yeah.
symbols, you look at the degree above. So 13
Yes.
Leo has
Hmm.
relevance for all of us because that's
Right.
where,
Well, maybe
um,
let me make a quick note on that while you're looking that up.
yeah.
I know what 14 Leo is because it's mine, but the people will ask sometimes, why do you do that rounding up? And it's because they began the symbols at one Aries, but the zodiac begins at 0. So if you have anything, if you have something like Pluto stationed at 0 degrees 29 Aquarius, so you have to round up to number one
Mhm.
of that. Why you do it that way? It's kind of weird, but that's why you do it like that. So, did you
Yes.
find this symbol?
Yes, it's an old sea captain rocking on the porch of his cottage.
Mm.
Yeah,
Isn't that a lovely
that
symbol?
is a lovely symbol. It's about reflecting, what a word for a retrograde,
Mm-hmm.
retreating into oneself, quiet confidence, knowing that one can conquer life's storms and come out wiser.
Yeah.
Isn't that important with Venus retrograde? We're really going to be focused on relationships and self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
Venus topics. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
I love
Mm.
that because, it's Venus. So we do think of it immediately as how we're relating to other people. And of course, that's part of it. But
Yeah.
what I like about a Venus retrograde is it takes us back to the root, which is we have to know how we feel about ourselves. We have to feel good about who we are and know what we want before we can really find the right kind of relationships. So I'm looking forward to this. Actually, I'm looking forward to this Venus retrograde. And just as you say, it's perfect time for reflection and restorative activities. That's my karmic degree, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't thought about that. And I've always resonated with that one. I really love it. I guess I'm just remembering past lives, retired and sitting on the porch and rocking or something. It sounds so nice. So that's nice. That gives everybody a kind of a little image. But see, that's what I like them. There's no right or wrong way to interpret them. It's what you
Mm-hmm.
glean from them. And I cover them a lot in my podcast, and I'll mention them in my columns. But in the podcast, I just take a very light approach to them. You can look at someone, I recommend people check out jamesburgess.com. His
Okay.
last name is spelled Burgess.
Okay.
And he is a sage, wonderful soul. And I get so much from his interpretations of the symbol. It's very deep.
Does he have
But,
a book about them?
I don't think he does, but he has a really interesting system that he is working with too that I haven't really delved into, but it's well worth checking out. You mentioned Linda's
Yeah.
book. There's also the classic, The Sabian Symbols in Astrology by Mark Edmund Jones. The one that sat with LC and recorded the symbols. You'll also see the symbols written a little bit differently from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
And the system that I've been tending to use, because it's very simplified, seemed to reflect exactly as they were channeled. Very simple, very succinct. Now, Mark Edmund Jones brought his own spin to things and kind of expanded on them a little bit. Linda's book, I think you see the longer descriptions of things. And that's great too. I just like to start with just something as basic as I can so my mind can really run free. But that's why there are two different versions of them that you'll see. One seems to have been the one that Elsie just originally
Yeah.
came out with. The others are a little more interpretation by Mark Edmund Jones, by Dame Rudyard, and those kinds of astrologers. So they all work. They're all fun to play with.
Yes, yeah, I
Yes.
absolutely love them. And if you recommend people, and this is what you recommended to me, is you can look up every one of your planetary placements, your ascendant,
Mhm.
everything,
Oh
and read the
yeah.
symbol and reflect on, how it relates to your life. And you will be amazed when you do.
They can be very amazing. And as I say, some of them are just weird. And I tend to, on a given day, if I run up against one that I just can't make heads or tails of, if I'm doing the podcast, I just leave it out.
Mm,
Or if it's something that seems like, yeah, that's language that's not going to land well with a modern audience, I
yeah.
might kind of skip over that one a little bit rather than rewriting it or something. But yeah, every single planet and angle in your charts tells a really interesting story.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I use them. That's what I would recommend. It's
Yes.
great fun.
Yeah. So people can just Google them,
Mhm.
but remember to read the one up
Yeah.
for your actual symbol, and then the one behind that will
hmm
be your
The
karmic
karmic condition.
karmic condition, and then
Mhm.
the one above it will be the
Yeah.
quest.
So yeah, and they say that karmic degree talks about what you come, the tools that you come in with. It's like the instinctive mission and the tools that you have available to make that vision happen. And then the quest is again how it all culminates and
Ah,
the outcome of what you're doing here. So see which ones maybe you'll be like me and resonate a lot more with your karmic degree. But I actually love the one for my son. And it's something about like a cherub whispering into every human ear, trying to find expression. And it
mm.
reminds me of my favorite movie, Wings of Desire,
Ah,
which focuses on an angel who wants to be made human. And throughout the movie, and I didn't know anything about the Sabian symbols when I fell in love with this movie, but throughout the whole movie, he's kind of listening very closely to people. They can't tell he's there, or he's whispering things to them, like words of soothing. Oh my gosh, this movie is my Sabian symbol. And I had no idea. So it's fun too how they connect with poetic things in your life that you're really
mhm.
drawn to.
Yeah.
So maybe you're madly in love with luggage. I don't know, Celeste, but
Not really,
Louis
but I have
Vuitton.
spent, like, my corporate career was in sales for most of the time,
Oh
and so
yeah.
I spent a lot of time traveling and moving through airports.
Oh gosh, right. Of course. And now you get to play on the beach.
Yes, I do, and I
Oh.
love that. Also, that vision of the shellfish speaks to me about like the intuition, and because one of the
Mm.
things I did with because I got so into my head with the astrology is I would bring in oracle cards and tarot cards to help me connect more in with the Neptunian principles and
Yes.
unconscious.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it really connects.
They were
Yes.
a great oracle. I mean, you can crack open Linda's book. Also, if you go to her website, sabiansymbols.com, and there's an oracle on the front page, and you can envision your question and click the little button, and you get a beautiful Sabian symbol. So it's very much an oracle device, and you can tie it into the astrology. But what's interesting is how often they are so contradictory to how we think of that sign. It's like the old sea captain on the ports. It doesn't sound like a Leo symbol particularly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it does tell us about different facets, I think, of each sign.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, with Saturn in Pisces, and when Venus went into the sign of Leo, it opposed Pluto and
Mm-hmm.
squared Pluto in Aquarius and squared Jupiter in Taurus.
Oh,
And
right,
we're
right.
seeing these stories like this vessel
Yes.
that went missing, the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
There's all this talk now about extreme tourism. So it's,
Mm.
Venus tourism, Pluto extreme, square Jupiter, like wealthy people are spending a
Oh,
lot of money
right.
to do this whole thing. So I wonder,
Oh,
the
wow.
old sea captain, there's going to be a lot about the sea. There was also that boat that sunk around, I think it was Italy or Greece, that had 700 migrants on it that got barely any attention or any
Right.
help. So there's this
Right.
real discussion about the difference in how, they set all these people to go look for the
Mm-hmm.
submarine that they knew kind of was already gone. because they heard the sonic boom versus,
Right.
only like I think 80 people from this ship were rescued
Oh
because there wasn't that.
gosh.
They were migrants, they were poor, they were, brown, all of this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of talk about the
Oh,
dichotomy
that is
there.
so interesting. And see how beautifully you put that together, because it's exactly what I like about the symbols. It doesn't have to be a sea captain sitting. You picked up the sea, you
Hmm.
picked up the ocean part of it. And sometimes I think just grabbing a little piece of a symbol can be really important and really resonant. So well done, Celeste.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And it's so interesting with the captain theme. There's talk about how, whether it was the captain or the CEO of this
Yeah.
of this ocean quest,
Mhm.
and the captain of the Titanic ignored warnings
Right.
and just kind of went forward. How new moon in Gemini squared Neptune. Yeah. And the sun was on the asteroid Atlantis
Oh,
on Sunday, which
really?
really fascinated me about the
Oh,
whole thing. I
wow.
taped a little video on YouTube about it because of the lost city. They're going to look for the lost
Oh my
city and they
gosh.
get
The
lost. So
asteroids are amazing, aren't
they
they?
are, they are.
They're, somebody was asking me about them recently, and I remembered the passion I had for them at one point, because practically any name you can think of, there's an asteroid associated with it. And if you look at even up the names of important people in your life,
Yep.
and you can put that asteroid in your charts for when you found them or when you married them, or whatever, and it can be fascinating. So wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So you
that.
could do that on astro.com. You go
Hmm.
into the chart, chart expansion or chart
You
something.
go into extended chart
Extended chart.
calculations, and
Yes.
at the very bottom of the page, there's a little link I think that you can click on that opens up this whole list, and they're labeled numerically. So you just take that number, put it into the little field, and it'll put it in the chart for you. And there goes the next week of your life, because you'll be doing nothing else
It's
but asteroids.
fascinating.
It really
Yes,
is.
every single asteroid, like every name,
Yeah.
like of your parents, your spouse, your
Yes.
siblings.
Your
Yeah,
dog. Yeah.
yeah.
Everything. It's
Oh,
very
I've got to
cool.
go put my dog's name in there.
Yes.
See if he comes up. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you have to go for a variation. Like there isn't an April, but I think there's Aphrodite, and April is derived from
Oh, I
Aphrodite. So
didn't realize that.
yeah, so I kind of claim that one. But yeah, sometimes you have to get a little inventive, but there'll be something in the neighborhood, usually, if the name you're looking for. So,
I
oh
think
my gosh,
Celestia is what's closest to
perfect.
my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what degree it was in your chart? Is it close to anything?
I can't. I think it's King Kunk's my Pluto. I'm not.
Ooh.
I'd have to do it
Oh.
again. It did have relevance, but I
Uh-huh.
can't remember
Oh,
exactly
well,
what
if
it
it's
was.
if it's interacting with Pluto, let's just leave it be. Let's just
Okay.
just don't go back for it. Just figure you can move on without that piece of information, maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, now we've given people two rabbit holes to go down. They can
Mhm,
go down their Sabian symbols, and they can go down their asteroids, and they'll have a lot of
mhm.
fun with that, I think.
I think so too. And we should
Yeah.
look at. Okay, so Venus is going to station also at 28 degrees of Leo. So let's
Hmm.
see what that one is.
Yeah.
To go backwards and tread over old ground. Many little birds chirping on the limb of. Oh wait, no, that's
Yeah.
28. Sorry,
I think that's 28.
29. A mermaid has climbed to the rocky shore of a bleak coast. She
Mm.
awaits the prince who will bring her immortality.
Well, now that's a story. And the simple version of that, the Elsie Wheeler one, is a mermaid.
Mm.
Period. So you can go either way. And if I get stumped on some, I'll look for those longer descriptive uh, iterations of them, because it can kind of get me unstuck and give me a little more of a picture. But the way James Burgess, I think, was talking about that one was it, if you look at a mermaid as a creature that's half submerged and half emerged,
Mm-hmm.
and it really spoke of that kind of stationing condition, I think, of Venus, and saying what is kind of above the surface is a very small part of the whole picture. And then we will be going underneath where you see the fins and you see the whole mermaid situation going on underneath the surface. So I liked contemplating that. And a mermaid's always a nice image. So
It is.
yeah, we'll see what that brings us with that retrograde.
Yeah, and I think it's important to think about, like, I'm going to have a Venus retrograde workshop. To me, that brings up images about how women, especially, more traditionally, have been taught to expect this Prince Charming and
Yeah,
submerge part of yourself in
yeah.
order to and just wait
Yeah,
and
be
like,
very passive. Yeah.
yes.
No, and in that case, you're right. That expanded vision of that symbol is really evocative because there is that dream, isn't there? And that
Mm-hmm.
expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It also says relying on relationships too much. And with Leo, outside of yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Relying on that for your
Right.
self-esteem. Yeah, I think this is a great Sabian symbol. New ways of being, transformation, new forms emerging out of the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And we
love
always
that.
do that with Venus retrograde, don't we? It's kind of the old images from the past. And yeah, of course, the cliche of it is, oh yeah, people from your past will come back. And there's some of that, I think, sometimes. But sometimes something just awakens them again in your consciousness. And suddenly you can remember exactly what it was like when you were that person and you were involved with that person, and it can just shift
Mhm.
your consciousness radically for a time where you're remembering that and remembering at a really core emotional level, not just in your mind, but your whole Leo heart, of what it was that you didn't quite complete there, something that went a little bit wrong that you'd like to avoid in the future. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
love this symbol. Yeah, and the bleak coast,
Yeah, that's a little
rocky
harsh, isn't it?
shores. It's really giving me Saturn and Pisces vibes too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that. And there's your
Mhm.
ocean imagery again
Mhm.
coming up too.
Yeah.
Um,
And wanting
mm-hmm.
bring her immortality. I'm
Mm.
sure there will be stories, cosmic surgery, nightmares, or like things about, that seeking of, the physical perfection. Yeah. That
Yeah, there
that
definitely is some of
yeah.
that. Yeah, there was something you said just before that struck me, and it went through my head.
Mm,
My head's a sieve today. But yeah,
mm.
there's a lot there. Oh,
Oh,
it'll be an interesting workshop that you're going to do. That'll be good.
yeah, that's going to be July 1st for anyone who wants to go. And you can astrologybyceleste.com if you want to look it up.
Yay.
Okay, so La Maupin has a great question.
Mm.
They have Venus retrograde, excuse me, in their solar return chart. So
Okay.
what would you say about that?
Well, I think it's good to remember the Venus retrograde cycle, which is an 8-year cycle.
Mhm.
And my first instinct would be go back to those previous years. So most previously, and it was at the same time of year in 2015 and 2007 and in 1999, most recently.
Mhm.
And so it would be covering the same area of the chart as it was then. So I like to cheat, with astrology. So it's like, hey, go back. What was happening? Who were you with? What were the big issues? What do you wish you'd done differently? What do you want to forgive yourself for or forgive other people for at this time? And of course, it gives extra weight to the retrograde because instead of having it for 40 days, you have it for a whole year in your solar return. So we know it's a little more consequential than maybe it is for other people. Even though for all of us it'll be interesting and important if we're paying attention. But for
Mhm.
our friend Lamalpin, it will definitely be a weighty one. It doesn't have to be bad. It can be sometimes that kind of nostalgia is lovely because it puts us in touch with a part of ourself that's been gone for a while. And to get reacquainted with that part of ourselves can be very sweet. But I think the emphasis overall, if we just want to apply it to everybody, is Venus being retrograde tells us to look within for approval, within for love, within for acceptance. It's not that it won't come from without, but that's not the emphasis when Venus is retrograde, I think. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah. But I think
definitely
that
agree.
pattern for Venus retrograde is very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, and I think there will be, especially a lot of things with Venus, when she ingressed, being opposite Pluto,
mhm.
it's really looking at the shadows of what we've done in the past and learning from it. It's for our
Mhm.
greater good with the square to Jupiter at the ingress, I feel like.
Yeah,
That, yeah,
absolutely.
there's
I
really,
mean,
really powerful
it
opportunity.
is. Yeah, Pluto and anything in Leo is a little bit of an uncomfortable combination, because Leo wants us to celebrate being exactly who we are and how wonderful that is. And Pluto's like, you're not so much. It's more like what part are you playing in the collective dance? That's what excites Pluto.
Yeah.
So if you get too into yourself, which is Leo's entire job, then Pluto's quite disapproving. So we just have to
Mm-hmm.
roar back when he starts to say
Mm-hmm.
that we're not worth
Mm-hmm.
much, right?
Yes, and Marissa says she's got Venus
Marissa.
retrograde in Leo natally, so she
Yes.
agrees with she
Uh-huh.
agrees with what you're saying, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, if I remember correctly, Marissa wrote an article on, I wonder if she would tell us in comments and remind me who she wrote it for, an article on Venus retrograde. There I see her.
Yeah, put it in
Um,
the comments, please, Marissa.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, Gigi's Venus is in Virgo, and she's really feeling the need to take a break from marriage to explore and her soul's desires, and Leo is her rising. Wow. Oh, I'm
Okay.
assuming a woman. It could be G
Yeah.
G G G Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Yeah, namaste. I don't know why
Oh,
sometimes I have so much trouble reading
because
these things when the
looks
words are
it looks so
breaking.
different than it sounds. Marissa says she wrote her article for Pop Sugar, so we can look for
Oh,
that there.
okay.
Marissa Brown is her byline if you're looking for that article.
Oh, I will
Um,
look it up for
I
sure.
think Venus in Virgo is one of those signs that is very emotionally self-sufficient. And if you're in a relationship with someone Venus and Virgo, flatter yourself because they don't need to be there. They're there because they want to be there with you because it's a self-contained. It's the image of the self-contained woman, whether you're a woman or a man or whatever. So the Venus being retrograde to me almost feels a little more in tune with Venus and Virgo, even if it's retrograde or not, that it's the self-sufficiency. I think I've described Venus and Virgo as like an emotional camel because it could get a long way on very little. It doesn't need a ton of gooey togetherness kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm not surprised with Saturn now in Pisces and opposing a Venus and Virgo. I mean, that's the crux of it. I need
Mm-hmm.
some alone time to get into my spiritual self, to really examine who I really am and want to be. Because when you get in a relationship with someone, no matter how good it is, you feel kind of locked into being that person. It's like you don't have the permit. It's like someone's watching. So you have to stay in character, you know? But when Saturn's coming along, I think it's kind of begging for a little more of, no, who could you be if you weren't locked
Mm-hmm.
into this thing? And maybe that's Venus retrograde to a certain extent for all of us, because we're not looking to others to tell us what's worthwhile and how we are worthwhile and all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, I love that, April. You're so brilliant.
Oh gosh, deep thoughts. It's the Sag rising. I can't help myself.
And that's another reason, like, explains why Venus is in fall in Virgo. That self-sufficiency
Yeah,
is the opposite of what Venus,
yeah.
technically does when at ease.
Mm-hmm.
The partnership aspect
Yeah.
of it.
So you can
Yeah.
still do it. My friend Dana Gerhardt of mooncircles.com is fond of saying that planets in their detriment or their fall sometimes can show up as the strongest influences in your chart because they have to work so hard to express themselves and be
Mhm.
seen. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough Venus. I love everything Virgo.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
partial. I'm partial.
I
Yeah.
have to. Well, my South Node's in Virgo, so I'm a
Oh,
little.
there you go. So you love it. Yeah, you're all about that.
Yes, but
Yeah.
stretching into my North Node in Pisces has been a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful growth
Mm.
experience. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anita says her Venus is in Pisces. She's single, but is ready to find love after 2 years of finding herself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Saturn connecting with Venus in some way is always good news for a lasting permanent relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets a little easier when we're past the retrograde, the transiting retrograde,
Mm-hmm.
because the transiting retrograde specifically, the job is to go within. It's terrible, traditionally a terrible time to get married or buy a house or do any of these Venus things that we might
Mm-hmm.
want to do. But after that, gosh, with Saturn making some aspect of Virgo planets, absolutely. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking to have a serious relationship, you're looking to get married, you want Saturn there. He's the guy that'll keep it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories of people who got married with Venus retrograde?
I saw a lot of it, Celeste, because I used to do a lot of what I did in my practice was choosing wedding dates for couples. And I did a big study. I looked at hundreds of charts. And I have to say, people were more likely, if they married when Venus was retrograde, for the marriage to end, before it naturally would have. So a divorce or something like that. And I think the reason is that we're not seeing the whole story. We're not seeing everything real clearly. And that's why it's a bit of a warning about it. Now, that said, my aunt and uncle celebrated 50 years of marriage together. They were married with Venus retrograde, with Mercury retrograde. I mean, it was a horrible chart. And they managed. So people manage. I mean, the astrology is not going to make or break your marriage. You and your partner are, but it just warns. Venus is the warning, and it says if your natural state, like you're born with Venus retrograde, your natural state is to look within and all of that. That might work out a little better for you. But generally, it's like with Mercury retrograde, we're not seeing everything we need to see for whatever reason. And that's why it's a bad time necessarily to make it, I don't say a bad time, a less desirable time to make a permanent decision in these
Mm-hmm.
areas of life.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to a wedding where it's Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, but
Yeah.
thankfully the couple's getting married earlier and doing that's just the party.
That's
So
what I've always told people. I had a woman recently who wrote to me and said, my daughter's getting married on September 3rd. It's when Venus is stationary. It's all kinds of bad stuff is happening. And everybody tells me it's a terrible day, but we can't change the date. What can I do? I'm like, I don't know, change the planets? I mean, you're giving me nothing to work with here. But I did recommend that. I said, a lot of people just get married before.
yeah.
They, at an auspicious time, have somebody choose a really good time. They go to the justice peace. Legally, it's done because the first legal ceremony is the one that counts astrologically. And then you have your beautiful party. You can have both. But a lot of people don't want to do it. It doesn't seem romantic. But it's like, well, then I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I was
Good
so
luck.
happy because I see
It's, yeah,
that retrograde as Mercury and Venus retrograde because they're already married. Is like they're
yeah,
redoing it
right.
for the friends and the family. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a ceremonial thing at that point, and the symbolism is different.
Yeah.
You'd look a little more at the sun, maybe, or Jupiter, or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh gosh, well, good. I'm relieved to hear that too, because you were saying that thing. Oh, those poor people.
Yes.
That's really a
Yes.
bummer. Because I'm not an absolutist about most things in astrology, and with
Mm-hmm.
electional, I tried to keep my rules very simple, but that was the biggest one, just because it did show up a lot in charts of marriages that had a really hard time. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Celery. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if there's any other ah so someone said was when their Venus was retrograde in their progress chart in Virgo, they discovered Al-Anon. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
Rethinking how you find pleasure And also that has a feeling of Venus and Virgo, the temple, like under like oh, Al-Anon is
Yeah,
like
Al-Anon is like
your parent or child or something having a
your
problem, not
partner,
you.
somebody, you're
Ah,
associated with someone that's coping with those issues, and it's about the codependence
oh,
or trying not to be codependent and trying to separate yourself from their behavior and all of that. This is my understanding of it. So doesn't that make sense with
mhm.
Venus retrograde in Virgo? It's very interesting to, boy, we've just turned this into a Venus retrograde talk. We're scooping your workshop. But yeah, I think that the what we're going to talk about, the Venus retrograde. There was some point I was going to make. Oh, well, it's just as well that I got off track because we really have gone down a rabbit hole, though. Oh, well, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, back to that self-sufficiency. And of course, when you're in a relationship, your instinct is to want to be very together. I mean, that's the Venus principle. But at the end of the day, you're separate people. And I think Venus retrograde reminds us of that as well. Every, what is it? Every 18 months or something, we have Venus retrograde. And it reminds us that at the end of the day, you're still yourself and an individual. And there is work that you have to do, that your partner can support you, but they can't really do it for you or even necessarily with you. So, yeah. Even for those of us who are in relationships and don't want that to change, Venus retrograde has its resonance of kind of a little more alone time, focusing a little more on your own stuff, maybe. Oh, that was interesting about the Al-Anon.
Yeah, very interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stephanie, a scaly kitty is my friend Stephanie.
Ah, yes, yeah. So
Mm.
April, I'm known for going off on tangents. I
Oh
can't.
gosh, well, me too. So God help us, it's 1:46. This one's going to be 15 minutes, and we're just going on and on. If somebody doesn't cut it off here, we'll be here this time tomorrow too, Celeste. But yeah, this has been so fun, though. It's been wonderful to catch up with you, and these are topics dear to my heart. So it was fun to be
Yes.
able to talk about
Yeah.
them. Good deal. All
Yeah. Do you
right.
have any other comments about like the Sabian symbols? There are some other things about Venus, but I don't want to sidetrack our original
I don't think so,
conversation.
really. I mean, I that is the way I use them. Is I do look at the natal chart. If somebody has a progressed planet that it like the degree that the progressed sun is at, it's there for a year.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to look at that Sabian symbol and see what's the work for this year and see what you get from the Sabian symbol. And with even the progressed moon, as it's that's like every month you get a new
Hmm.
degree. So those can be a lot of fun to look at as well. And when things are switching from one to the other. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think of the various ways that I've used them, and those are the main ones. Um, and don't feel like you have to use every single one. Some will speak to you, some won't. But it's also worth, with any divination tool, it's like if we're reading tarot for ourselves and we get a card we can't figure out, we go, and I'll just pull another one. And so we don't stick with it and really get into it, figure out what it's trying to tell us. And I think that can be true of the Sabian symbols as well. So if you go on Linda's site and use her oracle or something like that, and stick for a while, stick for a day with the answer that you've gotten and the symbol you've gotten, and see what you can get from that. Because
Yeah,
they're
I love that. Especially your sun, moon, and rising, I think is
mm-hmm,
a great thing to do. And I would recommend, yeah, Venus,
mm-hmm.
Venus as
The
well, since we're
ascendant.
talked about
Yeah.
that.
Look
Yes,
at your
yeah.
Venus,
And I,
look at your ascendant, look at your moon, look at your midheaven. These are the real biggies.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And the progressed, I love that. The progressed sun and moon, because they are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are
Yeah.
changing the
And yeah.
fastest.
Or if there's a particular planet that is BW, you're having Pluto aspecting your Mars, you'll want to look at your Mars degree
Mm-hmm.
because it's what Pluto is triggering that symbol.
Mm.
So, it will tend to come alive a little bit for you, I think, at times like that.
Oh,
So,
Uranus is on my Mercury right now in my 11th
oh,
house. So,
yeah. So 21 Taurus or something's the degree.
yes,
Yeah. Ooh, look
yeah.
it up. Look it
I'm
up.
gonna look it up and see what that is. So I would look at 22 Taurus. Remember, everybody, you look one up. A white dove flying straight and
Mm.
fearlessly over troubled waters. I
That's a
love
nice one.
I love that because I quit my corporate job like 2 years ago, so I'm still in
Mhm.
the early stages of my astrology business, and
Oh,
there's like it's
Uranus
like
over Mercury is fun though. I mean, that's
yeah,
all kinds of new
yep.
ideas and fresh techniques, and you're at an exciting point of it
I'm taking
because
a
everything's still a little
rectification
new.
class
Oh, well, good for you. Who are you taking that with?
with Kepler College. Carol
Great,
Tebbs is the
great.
teacher,
I
and
I love that for you. That's wonderful. You'll have to let me know how that goes because I have people from time to time ask me where they can study rectification, and I've never had a good answer. So let me know how that goes for you.
it's good. The last class
Yeah.
is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. I would just say I was not
Mm-hmm.
prepared for how much work it was, like the whole
Well,
workload. But I have learned so much that it's
mm-hmm.
been a very valuable experience
Mm-hmm.
for me. And it's only like $285 if you sign up early.
Yeah.
So it's not that expensive. Yeah, and it's five
Kepler
weeks.
Kepler has wonderful programs and great instructors. Do you need to remind people what rectification
So
is?
rectification is when you are unsure of your birth time. And even if you know your birth time, it's a good idea to do some rectification.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we take important events throughout your life. It's best if it's from you've got some from each point in your life, and at least 10, but up to 20 events. If you know the exact date, it's great. And then what we can do is like essentially back calculate your midheaven is most important for timing
Mm-hmm.
and ascendant, and then test it with various techniques like solar arcs, secondary progressions, transits,
Mm-hmm.
eclipses, progress new and full moons and things like that to see and adjust to get to your to get to your exact ascendant and midheaven, and which
Mm-hmm.
gives you your natal chart, which is really important for timing of when things come up.
Yeah.
So if you heard you were born around 5 a.m. or in the morning or something like that, you might want to get a rectification.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can reach out to me if you're interested, because I'm going to start doing it now that I've learned all the techniques. Do you do rectification,
I
April?
do not. I don't have enough hours in the day because it is a ton of work. If somebody is pretty close, it's like
Yeah.
within an hour. It's like my thing says 4:15. That sounds suspiciously rounded up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's relatively easy then at that point by using big slow moving transits and things to start to get a picture. I've done with my own. I've rectified it back a minute or so, but it's a lot of work. As you said, it's very
Yeah.
specialized work. So
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to send people to you, Celeste, because it's not something I intend to add to my toolbox, but I get a lot of people asking about it because especially in some countries, the birth times are almost always rounded to
Mm-hmm.
the hour even.
Mm-hmm.
And people are really frustrated because they don't know. So it's yeah, I always thought the good experiment with that would be to get somebody else to give you charts of people you don't know at all, and they know the time and you don't,
Mm-hmm.
and rectify and see if you come up with the same thing that's recorded on the birth certificate. I think that would be a really good test. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
you do have to give like the details of the event and
Yeah.
what happened and some things about yourself, so that
Right.
because yeah, in order to do it, it's like an art. Now I have a program called Jigsaw that helps you with
Oh
it,
yeah,
but
Bernadette Brady. Did she do
mm-hmm,
that? Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing. What a brain on her to
Man,
create this
you're not
program.
kidding. And that's the tip of the iceberg with her. She is a brilliant person, a brilliant astrologer. And yeah, I remember seeing her speak at a UAC conference when I was still a baby astrologer. And it was so great because some people in back of the room were kind of chit-chatting and stuff, and she did not put up with that. She called them out. You're going to listen to me or you're going to leave. I'm like, go Bernadette Brady.
Yes.
But yeah, she got a great mind. Her book, Predictive Astrology, The Eagle and the Lark, is one I always recommend to people. She has great ways of breaking down, progressions and transits and looking at the things that are most important. Brilliant work with eclipses and all of that. Yeah, she's the real deal. She's great.
Yes.
I saw it
Yeah.
go by in chat. Somebody was talking about, I think they might have had Linda Hill's book, 360 Degrees of Wisdom, about the Sabian symbols, sent to them from Australia, because you buy it through Linda's site at this point,
Yes.
sabiansymbols.com, had it sent to them in the UK. And of course, the shipping's very expensive between countries. There is an ebook version. I was just looking today on her site. So if the cost of the shipping and stuff would be prohibitive for you, consider that. And it's only $22 US. So
Hmm.
it's quite a deal because it's an excellent book. But oh my gosh, shipping between countries,
Yes. Yeah.
it's
I had
nuts.
this shipped to me from Australia. Oh wait. Yeah, I think I did have it shipped from
Yeah.
Australia. It was expensive, but yeah,
Oh,
I
so
also have
worth it
the
though.
PDF version.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a much more
It's
economical for people.
economical. It's so great to have books that we could, with astrology books. I have bought them as ebooks in a pinch because I needed them tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
But mostly you want to be able to feel them and leaf through them. And it's just easier, huh?
Yeah, I prefer a
Yeah.
physical book. I have so many books. Oh, Claudia is reminding me that Mars is going to square 21 Taurus.
Oh, right.
Mars and Leo square 21 Taurus
Well,
this
I think that's
weekend.
so ironic, really, that and Linda had said something in her book about how the symbols can have a sense of humor. Because I've been looking at that Uranus degree on the white dove over troubled waters. I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, yeah, but Uranus is usually the one that's troubling the waters. So it's kind of a little joke.
Well,
I think the
hopefully I'm
Sabian
not
symbols
going
are
to get a
having.
bird pooping on my
No,
head.
yeah, hopefully not.
Like that, Mercury,
Hopefully
Mars
not.
square Mercury.
That'd be coming out of nowhere.
Uranus.
That'd be kind of perfect. But I love that one for at inspiration. It is
Yeah.
something where we can blurt stuff out that we didn't mean to say and maybe ruffle some feathers. But it's I love. I'm a big fan of Uranus transits, and I really like them with Mercury because inspiration strikes and something that had never occurred to you before. You can go, oh yeah, that.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, Uranus, I'm finding in my life, maybe it's not for everyone, but a lot of the times, it's not always, it can act as a benefic, not just, yeah, that positive
Absolutely.
things like just fall out of the sky for you sometimes with
Yeah,
Uranus.
that
Yeah.
is very true. And I always think of him as a liberator, as
Yes.
someone that just wants is trying to get us out of jail, whatever jail we put ourselves in. Uranus is there to break us out of the hoosegow
Yeah.
in the middle of the night, our posse there to help us out. And I always say, if Uranus is going through a part of your chart you don't like how that area of your life's been going, rejoice, because Uranus will change it for sure.
Well, well,
So
uh,
that's going to be a good one for you, Celeste. Yay. Yay.
yes. Yeah. Well, we
Okay.
have a couple more minutes. So
Okay.
this flew by
Yes,
because it was
it
so
really
informative.
did.
You like gave us such incredible, great information. So
Oh, well,
tell
good.
everybody how they can find you, what you have coming up, and all that good
Right.
stuff.
Well, they can find me at bigskyAstrology.com, where I've been for 1,000 years now. The site just celebrated its 23rd birthday on June 10th. And of course, my podcast, the Big Sky Astrology podcast, is new each Monday. And I cover the big celestial highlights of the week and usually answer a listener question. Let's see, what do I have coming up? I have a thing for a group in New Zealand. I'm doing a Zoom. I'm actually talking about your lunar phase family, Celeste. I'm going to give you a shout out because it's all because of you. I know anything about the lunar phase families. So I'm doing a talk for them on that. And mainly, they just sort of asked me relatively recently to do it, and I thought, well, what have I been wanting to study more? And I thought, the lunar phase family. So I'm going to do that. That is on July 1st, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and that's the next day and in the morning in New Zealand. What else do I have? I've got some talks coming up. If people go just to my website and look under Let's see. I think it's about me and it's events and appearances. I tend to post stuff there when I have these. I'm going to have a pretty light summer in terms of teaching. I might do a workshop of some kind at some point, but I haven't decided yet. And really, for right now, that's it. Same old stuff. Every week I have a weekly column you can read with my work, my artwork and all of that, and then the podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And you can find me, find me apparently on Instagram Live. Who knew? I'm all set up for it now. I might start doing it regularly, and it's not as scary as I thought.
So, not scary at all when you have someone to talk to.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Yes, it really does. Yeah,
well,
so
this has been so wonderful, April. Thank you so much.
Thank
you
for
sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and insights. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me. It's just been fun to catch up with you.
Yes,
to be honest.
Yes, and I will see you in San Diego.
That's right.
We get to meet in person when I'm speaking for the San Diego.
Right, July
14th and 15th.
Yes, because you're doing a workshop.
Yes, a workshop for the San Diego Astrological Society. I'll put it in my stories for people.
Absolutely. If anybody is in this area or even in LA or something like that, it's a great opportunity to. Are you speaking? You spoke for the San Francisco group, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes,
they're a nice group.
Yeah, San Francisco and Tucson, and I'm talking about the moon phase for moon phase families for Isar in July too.
Oh, terrific!
Yeah, with Uranus going over my Mercury in my 11th house, I'm speaking for
groups.
Yeah. Yes, I'm also doing Synchronicity University, a talk on eclipses. So
Nadia, fascinating. Okay, great.
Yeah, so July is a busy month.
No kidding. Well, good for you.
Oh, good, mean cute. Yes, sign up, please. I hope to see you there.
Yeah. All right. Well, good deal. Well, thank you, Celeste. This has been a treat.
It has. Thank you, April. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, everyone who joined.
Yes.
On the replay.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful time. A wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know how to get out. I guess.